Hey, welcome in everybody to the football show that we've been doing live, but we're not doing live today, so it's just the football show. Yeah, and I'm gonna tell you something. I got Alan Head with me again. You know what I would call you and I, Alan?
What's that, buddy?
Versatile.
Yes, that's a great description for this show.
Yeah, man. We just got done with a recruiting pod a couple days ago. We're gonna put our football hats on today, and we're gonna talk about this big win. You know what? A win's a win, man. A win's a win. That's the way I'm looking at this. Um, Justin's not with us, as you can see. I think he tweeted out like, "Hey, it's been a long season. Enjoy this. Just enjoy it." Right?
I think that's fair, right? Because what you saw from Auburn was what you expect to see from Auburn. They treated ULM like an inferior opponent. They played like ULM was an inferior opponent. They went out and they executed in the way that they're supposed to. And other than giving up a last second score, which I could tell, I mean, if you saw the clip of DJ Durkin on the sideline, he was absolutely pissed about. But other than that, I mean, it was another really good game for the defense. Offensively speaking, you executed in a way that you haven't since probably the Alabama A&M game. You were just dialed in from start to finish. Big games for Cam Coleman. I think this is the first time we've had two wide receivers at over 100 yards in the same game since A&M.
Yeah.
Because obviously Dre also contributed there as well. Another big day for Jarquez Hunter, going over 100 yards, plus eclipsing the 1,000-yard mark for the season. And I think now he's somewhere around sixth or seventh on the all-time list for Auburn running backs for overall yardage or rushing yardage. And then Payton Thorne, the embattled Payton Thorne, had a good day, throwing for 280 plus and 5 touchdowns. So now I think for the season, he's up over 2,100 yards and 18 touchdowns.
Yep.
With single-digit interceptions. So good day for Payton. And I know that in the comment section, I'm going to get murdered for saying good day for Payton because people are just, they're kind of done and they want to turn towards the future. But I thought it was probably, given his performance today and what you have on the right, and awaiting for you in Texas A&M, if you have any shot in that game, I think it has to be Payton Thorne probably behind center. And so it was good for Auburn to let him get back into a groove, get in rhythm, get on time. And it was an all around good day for Auburn. So celebrate the fact that it was a win and we'll kind of turn the page next week, partway through this podcast. But again, you treated ULM like you needed to, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good win. Gets you to 4 on the season. You still bowl eligibility still there for the taking if you want it. Not going to be easy, obviously. There is no reason why this team can't go beat Texas A&M.
No.
Texas A&M's only lost 2 games. They're good. They're a good football team. They got a good quarterback. They got a lot of good things going for them. But Auburn's been in every game. Auburn's been in every game. You could make a case that Auburn was really not in it as much with Georgia. But it's like a 3-point shooter. Seeing one go down, and you go, okay, all right. It doesn't matter who it was. It could have been junior high team. You get a W on your belt, and all of a sudden you're feeling a little better. And it's the first one in a while. Kentucky obviously was a big one. I think that at this point in the season, you're still in that mindset of, well, we do have something to lose, but we really don't. We really don't.
No, and to your point about Auburn being close with every team they played to this point, of their 6 losses, 3 have been by 1 score, 2 have been by 10 points. And realistically, you were in each one of those games going well into the 4th quarter.
Right.
So, law of averages would tell you that eventually you're going to get one, right? Now, I'm not going to bet on it. I'm not going to say that Auburn's going to beat Texas A&M.
Sure.
But again, Jordan Hare at night, if this team clicks, there are enough weapons to scare Texas A&M. And this defense, the way they're playing right now, I feel like they've gotten better every week underneath DJ Durkin and Charles Kelly. And they're just continuing to improve and grind. And you know that DJ Durkin's going to be fired up to play the team that he coached for this time last year. So he knows and understands the personnel, right?
Sure he does. So do you remember me asking? And by the way, I am actively putting up breaking news that Sebastian Williams, and when you watch this, you'll know about it. Sebastian Williams Adams has committed to Auburn basketball. So forgive me, I'm putting that up as we talk. But do you remember me, Alan, asking you the question? It may have been on a call-in show. It was, what do you think other teams, when they see Auburn on their schedule, this was after Auburn started sliding a good bit. What do you think they think? What are they thinking? They look at Auburn and go, what's the reaction?
W. Now, I walk that back a little bit and say, I think there were probably players on the team that think that, but I think there are coaches that work at every university that Auburn will play moving forward and say, okay, this team's been close.
Yeah.
If they execute here or there, this team could have more wins. So this is somebody we can't sleep on, but it's hard, right? Coaches aren't on the field. It's hard to get kids, you know this better than anyone, Cole, dialed in and ready to execute week in and week out, especially when you have a game looming as large as Texas A&M does with Texas. I mean, that is a big, big rivalry, and that's a big deal. Those two schools hate each other, okay? Those players don't like each other. There's a reason one's at A&M and one's at Texas. So can Auburn be focused because you know that you need that win, you want the win? I think Auburn's going to come ready to play. I don't believe Auburn in any way is going to be looking forward to the Iron Bowl. But does A&M overlook Auburn a little bit? And does Auburn get into a role and get into a groove offensively in a way that they're staying on time and on schedule? If you could execute the Oklahoma game plan the way you did against Oklahoma, similar defense, right? Like I think when I think of premier defensive coordinators in the game or guys that have defensive background, Mike Elko, Brent Venables, two of the best. Okay. Yeah. And they both, I think the difference is A&M's offense is a little bit better. So A&M's defense gets a little bit more of a break. But overall, you're playing very similar talent. So can Auburn control the game the same way you did against Oklahoma, except not make the pivotal mistake in the critical moment when you've got to not do that, right? Like when you've got to have clean execution, can you do that then? Yeah. And that would be the difference in between a win and a loss for Auburn in this game against A&M.
And I think a team like A&M is looking at their schedule and going, okay, yeah, this should be a win for us, especially the way this season's been going. But you're also looking at it as, okay, we got some pressure here.
Yeah.
Because, they're still, as far as I'm concerned, they still have a chance at the playoff. I think they have a strange path there, but they have a path. Would you say they control their own destiny? Is that where they're at?
It's so hard because you have so many two-loss teams in the SEC right now. And that's the difficult part of this. I think, what do you have, 6 or 7 two-loss teams now?
Yeah, so Missouri was one of them. I know they just lost to South Carolina.
They did. Okay, so it's 6 two-loss teams because you have A&M, Ole Miss, Alabama,
Georgia,
Tennessee, Georgia, and then Texas.
Wow.
And Texas isn't 2 loss; they're 1 loss. But anything above 2. So that's 6 teams all vying for probably 4, maybe 5 spots in the playoff.
Yeah. And bottom line with Texas A&M is, look, you beat Auburn, you still got a chance. You lose to Auburn, it's over.
Yep, no chance. 3 losses is not getting you into the playoff.
If you're Texas A&M and Mike Elko, you're looking at Auburn and going, okay, and I did. I'll just admit it. I did. I wanted to stir up the board a little bit this morning. I just want to see how it's fun to do that sometimes. They know. They know. It wasn't no surprise, right? I don't think it's quarterback rating. I think it's passer rating. I think I worded it wrong. Passer rating's a little bit different, I think, but in the same vein, I believe. Payton Thorne's passer rating is better than it's ever been in his career. Now, whatever you say, whatever you want. Why don't you do his fourth quarter? Why don't you take the Alabama A&M game out?
Right.
Okay, well, are we going to take out those games for everybody else too? Well, you need to do that too if we're going to do that.
Right.
Let's be consistent here, right? But the point is, this guy had 3,200 yards and 27 touchdowns at Michigan State in a year where he had NFL guys all around him, whatever. They were pretty good, I think, as a team. I think they were a 10-win team that year, right?
Sure.
His passer rating was less than it is now. That's to me, that's interesting to study. I'm not. Maybe it's a weird rating. Like maybe that rating is not even important. I'm not saying it is. I'm just curious as to why that might be. Is that fair?
No, I think it's a fair question to ask, right? Now, again, you know that the comments in this section are going to be on fire when they get to this part of the podcast because, again,
Light it up.
you know what I mean?
Light it up.
The divisive thinking as it pertains to Payton. I mean, either you love him or you hate him. And there's no in between from the Auburn fan base right now, it feels like. So
I think I would favor that. I think the hate side is a little stronger than the
sure.
love. That's
Yeah.
just a hunch. Now that's just a hunch.
Yeah, I think that's a fair hunch, right? But all the same, to be fair to Payton, he has improved this year from last year to this year. And
Yeah.
don't forget, he didn't even play in the New Mexico State game. If you were to add Hank's stats into what he's accomplished this year, he'd almost be already be over 2,500 yards passing.
True. And I thought I mentioned this. I thought his best half of football in his career at Auburn was against Arkansas when he came off the bench. After he'd been benched, I thought he had a really good half, gave Auburn a chance to win that game. You know, he's also been the reason Auburn's lost a couple times, I think. I think he's been it comes back to this. He's not the reason he may not be the number one reason you lost, but he wasn't the number one reason you won either, right?
Fair. You know what I mean? I think if you're looking at games, I'm not going to put Oklahoma on him.
Right.
I think
Right.
I didn't love the play calls, and I felt like
No.
that was more in-game management that cost you that game. But Cal, the number of turnovers, Vanderbilt, he just didn't execute in a way
Right.
that allowed you to stay in that or win that game. And then if you're looking at the Missouri game, those are the three to me where Payton didn't necessarily lose you the game by himself, but he didn't help you in a way to win those games either, right?
So, Alan, I haven't done the play script yet, but I did my best as we were going through it live to sort of chart plays and go, okay, I think I know what that was. I know what that was based on what I've done from film study this year.
Right.
And they were moving fast. They had tempo going this week, so I almost was missing plays as I was trying to do that. But I mean, they definitely toned it back as far as packages. Like
Yeah.
you can tell that you go back to the Vanderbilt game and they had all these packages. They had the quads package, which was, the 4 receivers to one side. You have Jarquez Hunter stacked behind them.
Mm-hmm.
Several different plays out of that. Okay, that's fine. That stuff's fine. I like it. Obviously, you schemed it up pretty well. There was an overthrow to Luke Deal on one of those. A couple things that didn't go right. A couple things that did go right, actually, in those. But a lot of emphasis on package stuff that you obviously put in for that game because we hadn't seen it any other time.
Correct.
When you come to this Louisiana-Monroe game, obviously a lesser opponent than Vanderbilt. Got to give Vanderbilt credit. They're a good football team.
Yes, they are.
But not package heavy. This was a game where you went back to base RPO. These are the RPOs we've been running all year. This is what we do. This is what Payton's comfortable with. This is, I don't know if it's necessarily just full base offense, but closer to the base than what you saw against Vanderbilt. How much stock do you put into that as Auburn being much more efficient and cleaner, Payton Thorne looking better? Do you put anything into that at all?
I do. I mean, I think you probably ran the offense the way that it's designed to be run against ULM. If I'm being honest, I think probably from Kentucky or Missouri on, they've tried to be more run heavy.
Yeah.
And it's understandable, right? I still think Jarquez Hunter is probably your most consistent offensive playmaker. And so they've tried to feature the running game. And unfortunately, fortunately for them in the Kentucky game, it worked fantastically. But
Right.
against Missouri and against Vanderbilt, you just didn't get enough from the rest of the offense to offset what they did to kind of mitigate our effectiveness in the running game. And so now you've gone back and you've said, okay, we're just going to do what we do. We're going to run the offense the way that it's designed to be run. This is what Payton probably feels most comfortable with. We're going to make sure that we still give Jarquez his carries. I think Jarquez was still upwards of 15. That's probably still a little light for me. I would like to see him at 18 plus for every game moving forward. I think that's probably the sweet spot for him. But it just looked cleaner, right? It looked more like they were comfortable with what they were being asked to execute. And again, you have to take the quality of the opponent that you're playing against has to be a factor. You can't take that out of the equation. But overall, just from like an understanding standpoint, it felt like the receivers, the quarterback, everybody was aligned in knowing what they were supposed to do and how they were supposed to execute. I didn't see a lot of busts. I didn't see a lot of mental mistakes, penalties. I mean, did we have a penalty offensively speaking?
So Auburn did not have any penalties.
Right.
Not
procedural
one.
Or personal fouls.
Not on offense, not on defense, special teams. Clean all the way.
So
that's interesting, by the way.
That in and of itself lets you know that they were on time, on schedule, and they knew exactly what they were supposed to execute. Because while ULM is not the most talented team that Auburn is going to play or has played, they're not a terrible football team either. This is a significant uptick from what you played against Alabama A&M. Okay, this isn't a mid-tier to low-tier SWAC school in the FCS. And I know Zach's probably like bristling hearing me say FCS. But there are levels to this, right? And Auburn was not playing when they played their FCS opponent. That wasn't South Dakota or North Dakota State, right?
Yeah.
This was a mid to low tier SWAC school. So,
right.
ULM is a significant upgrade from that.
So some numbers. Probably already read them 100 times, but some numbers. Zach says Louisiana-Monroe beat Jackson State by almost 3 touchdowns. Jackson State just won the division that Alabama A&M is in. Okay. So he's adding to your point, Alan. He's not going against us, even though he covers them.
He absolutely could. And look, he'd have some valid points if we were talking Montana State or North Dakota State or South Dakota, one of those schools over there in the Big Sky. Zach would be able to pound the table on that one.
Exactly. Some numbers. Auburn had 507 yards of offense. That's big. 300, pretty balanced. Over 300, so 304 passing, 203 rushing. That's balanced. 0 penalties. That's huge. 26 total first downs. They were 12 of 17 on third down. That's really good. That's pretty good. Fourth down, 1 of 1. They had 75 total plays, averaged 6.8 yards per play, 12.7 per completion. 5 of 5 in the red zone. I guess they're counting field goals for that as well. So, overall, and look, if you're playing college football 25, the video game or something, and you get that kind of day, you're going, yeah, all right.
No doubt, dude.
That's good, especially if your quarterback stats are 22 of 32, 286, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. That'll work too.
Right.
So it's that's one of the things I really want to address and hit on the film room when I get to that this week. Is it because ULM is inferior? I don't think they're. I mean, you're talking about a team, Auburn, who had only won 3 games going into this.
Right.
All right. That makes you wonder. I mean, we looked at Auburn's schedule before the season and went, that's not as bad as we've seen before.
No, not at all.
It looked more favorable. I mean, even now you look back at it and go, okay, Cal's, they're not great. Arkansas's, they're capable. That's an understandable. You could understand that one. Missouri, you can understand that one. They're pretty good. Who else? Oklahoma, they're not very good. Probably should have won that.
Yep.
But, more favorable than usual as far as the schedule goes. So 3-6, you start wondering, man, could Auburn beat Liberty? Could Auburn beat some of these teams that are out there that are pretty good G5 teams? Could they even beat them? Well, you put Auburn up against a G5 team that's decent, and they dominate, as Hugh Freeze said. And I do think it was a dominating type performance.
Agreed.
So that kind of gives you, like, you go, okay, well, they are pretty good. They are capable of winning big. They are.
They are. And to Payton's credit, He didn't play a perfect game either. I want to be honest
No.
about that. There were some
Right.
miraculous catches by your wide receiver core. I mean, one by Dre down the sideline where he
Yeah.
splits two defenders and
Yep.
goes up and makes a play and then carries it in. And then obviously the one-handed catch by Cam Coleman where he
Right.
absolutely contorts his body in midair. And when you see plays like that and you see a day like Cam had, that's when you kind of understand his full talent ceiling, right?
Right.
Because the balance and body control that he shows on just that one catch alone, people at his size, his length, they're not able to do that, right? Like
Right.
that's just not something that every wide receiver can do. Um, Obviously, you didn't see Hooks do that last year. He made some good
True.
catches, but nothing of that magnitude. So, and it's probably a little frustrating for Auburn fans to have not seen Cam do that more. And is that a byproduct of the fact that he's playing better competition than he's ever faced? Yeah, I think that factors into it. So there's a learning curve when you step into the SEC. I think there's also, the offensive operation hasn't been fantastic this year for whatever the reason. I mean, I think it's a combination of factors between various play callers and offensive, just overall execution. Quarterback play has been bad at times. Offensive line play has been bad at times. You know what I mean? It's just the
Yeah.
overall passing game in and of itself. I don't think it's one person, the turnover aspect, taking away possession so that you don't get more opportunities. So there's been a lot of things there, but there are a lot of goals there for him still to have. I mean, he's right at 400 yards, I believe, receiving for the season now. So going over 500 yards, 5+ touchdowns, that would be a really good freshman year for him. And then Dre is, I think he's within 250 yards of being at 1,000 yards.
He's at 762, I think.
762. Okay. So less than 250 yards, and he hits the 1,000-yard mark. And that would be the first time since,
Uh,
Ronnie Daniels, maybe?
I don't know.
I think Ronnie Daniels is the last 1,000-yard plus receiver that we've had.
What year would that be? 98, 2000,
99.
99?
Either 99 or 98. Yep, 99. Zach just jumped in.
Had 1,068 yards, Ronnie Daniels in 1999. So yeah. It's 2024, in case y'all didn't know. About to be 2025, and Auburn has not had a 1,000-yard receiver since. Wow. Okay, so that's the big deal. Terry Beasley is, according to Zach, is the only other Auburn receiver to hit 1,000, which in his day and time is really incredible what Terry Beasley was able to do.
I mean, and did it in either 10 or 11 games too. You know what I mean? We play an extra game now that we weren't playing at that point.
I mean, they must have thrown it to him. And I don't really know. I obviously wasn't there for that, but
sure,
they must have thrown it to him every other play.
I can only imagine, man.
The other guys on the team were like, "Hey, man, my parents are here. Can you throw it to me, maybe?"
Nope. Pat Sutherland was just telling me you shouldn't have had that popcorn.
Yeah. Man. So I wanted to also point out, because somebody in the thread where I put that stat up, Zach added Darvin Adams finished with 963 in 2009. So he was close. That's close. That's close enough almost. I mean, obviously Darvin Adams was fantastic. So
yeah, he really was.
Makes sense. That one makes sense. That's 2009 too. That was the Chris Todd year, which a lot of people have looked at this year and gone, "Huh, I wonder if this year's kind of like that." Right? There's some similarities. There are some similarities.
Very much so, except that team in critical moments was able to execute, and this team hasn't.
Right.
And that is the major difference between Auburn fighting its way to 7-5 versus, the 4-6 you find yourself at right now.
Right. Right. And I think it was I don't know who it was. I saw it on Twitter. Somebody was saying, look, the way this transfer portal is, the way it's made it like the NFL. Okay. There are a lot of good teams in the NFL who have lost a lot of games. So
yes,
you could be playing a team in the NFL that's 4-6 and be sweating about it because they have the capability to beat you any given Sunday, right? So that's how it is now, man, especially in the SEC. And Texas A&M knows that going into this game. It's the reason why the line is only 2.5 right now. It's close. It's close for a reason. People are giving Auburn a little respect, I think.
Vegas is for sure. Now, again, I'm in that boat where I got to see it to believe it at this point. For me to pick
Well,
Auburn
yeah.
to win a game, and this is not me being anti-Auburn by any means. I just need to see them execute on the big stage in the big moments. But to say that Auburn is going to get blown out in this game, absolutely not. I think this is going to be a tight ball game. I truly do. And how it turns out, I honestly don't know. But look, every year that Hugh Freeze has been a head coach, he has gotten a win that he was not predicted to get, right? There has been one every year. And so I'll be interested to see if this is the game for Auburn that they're able to, finally get beyond not being able to execute on critical downs. You know what I mean? Because I think the turnover bug has quieted significantly, right? Like since the Arkansas game, you have not seen turnovers at a high volume. But what you have seen is the inability to execute in those critical moments where you got to have it. And is this the game that they put it all together, right?
Right. I agree with that. So, what I was going to say is that in our thread about Payton Thorne's passer rating, QB rating, whatever it is, somebody said, "Thank God our receivers bailed him out." Yes. Yeah, that's what we've been saying. Hey, you got receivers that can go up and get the ball.
Yes.
There's been so many other times this year where they really could have helped bail him out. I truly believe that. I might be crazy for that, but I do. I believe there were so many other times where you could have given them a chance. Hey, let's not put so much on his plate. Put it in their hands. Look at Missouri last night against South Carolina. They didn't win the game, but when they needed a big play, fourth down, they went to who?
Luther Burden every time.
That's right. That's right. It was a great throw by Brady Cook. I'm not taking anything away from that, but it was a low percentage play. If you watch the game, they took a shot at Luther Burden on fourth down. That was the game. The game was on the line. If they don't make that play, it's over.
Yep.
Son of a gun catches it, makes a touchdown out of it. That's the risk. That is the it's a risk, yes, but there's a high reward if you actually take the risk and it pays off. And that's where Auburn, I feel like, has lacked, and I feel like it's one of the reasons they're 4-6, and they're not better than that, is because they don't take a lot of risks like that. And it's as simple as, hey, look, Payton Thorne is struggling. There's been times where he struggled. His pocket presence, pass protection hasn't been great to help him out there.
That's true.
All of those things together. And then you don't give him a chance to bail him out with a Cam Coleman. Like, you saw what he's capable of.
Correct.
He should have more chances. Right? I mean, there's been times where he's been one-on-one. I always point it out when I'm up in the press box. Hey, there's, may not be the time for it, but there is a chance. Like, you could take it right here. Safety's inside the hash. This is one of those chances where you could take a shot. I'm just saying.
Sure. And
there's opportunity, right?
I'm with you. And he doesn't have to be the first read on it. But if your first read is not there, what is the harm of going 1-2? Okay, I got a one-on-one over here. On the pre-snap, I've already ID'd it. That's where I'm going with it, right?
Right.
You know what I mean?
And look, they may do that, and it might be worse. Might be a worse football team if they do that stuff. I don't know. They know more than I do. I would never act like I am the expert on this, because I'm not. I'm just an analyst. I'm trying to figure it out, right? Just like everybody is.
Yeah.
But I really do believe, and I think it was you saw a glimpse of it against Louisiana-Monroe, that Payton Thorne's stats, his production, his ability as Auburn's quarterback could be better if it was put into their hands a little bit more and taken out of his. And I think he would appreciate it.
Yeah. Kid's taking a beating this year for sure.
He has. Some of it fair, some of it very unfair. So it's I get it. You pile on Payton. I think he can take it. He's very mature about it. I watched him during Tiger Walk. He feels like the fans hate him, man. I can see it on his face.
Sure.
walking through Tiger Walk. It's really sad, and I hate it. I hate to see that. He almost doesn't want to make eye contact with anybody. And he's a good dude. He wants to interact and all that, but it's just like, all right, I got
I'm
another
gonna.
chance to prove myself today. I'm gonna do it. I
Yep.
know you don't like me, but it's just it sucks. But
It does. It very much does. But it is what it is, right? We
it is.
we are where we are.
That is the chance you take when you go to a place like Auburn. You go to the SEC and test yourself and try to be a quarterback in this league, especially this day and age when everybody's very vocal, has a voice.
Yes.
That's where we're at. But look, had a good game yesterday. He's going to start against Texas A&M. I don't believe in coincidence. You know that. And there's a reason why Freeze keeps putting him out there. His
Yes.
job is on the line, and he's putting it on Payton. And there's a reason for it. He believes he gives him the best chance to win, and he definitely did yesterday.
Agreed.
There's no doubt.
Agreed. And I know that he made the statements about looking towards the future and all those things. And I think that's been well covered in the media, specifically on this beat. But, at the end of the day, I think Hugh still values winning and trying to put as many wins within this season as he possibly can as he continues to build for the future, because you're playing a lot of young kids. And so getting them valuable reps, specifically those receivers, with a quarterback that knows the operation is putting them in the right spot, that's valuable.
Sure.
I think a lot of people put that in that, hey, if we're not developing a quarterback for next year, then what are we doing? Well, there are other players that you're also developing. Okay. And so having somebody that's on the field that understands the offense, what you're trying to accomplish, can set guys, motion guys, make sure that they're put in the correct spot or correct spacing. That's also important, because look, in my honest opinion, the quarterback for the 2025 season is not on this roster right now. So realistically, you're trying to make sure that the team around whoever that quarterback is going to be is as developed and ready as it possibly can be.
And boy, is the wait not long.
No.
I'm sure we will talk about that on the call-in show Sunday night. It'll be a hot topic because signing day, transfer portal, we are almost here.
No doubt about it.
But since we're talking about quarterback, how about Mr. Walker White?
How about it, man? I mean, you can see the reason why Hugh Freeze made him the priority target that he did. There's so many natural skills that he possesses. He just has that dual threat facet to him with the power run game that they want to utilize on QB power, and split zone, whatever they want to do with him from a quarterback run standpoint, they can do. And you saw that on display. You also saw the natural arm talent that he possesses and natural arm strength.
Yep.
Now, I think he's still a little bit juiced up when he's making certain throws, right?
Yeah.
Which is understandable. He's a young quarterback. He's still learning and developing. But again, you can see the fit. And I did find it curious. I know what Hugh's explanation was, that he just wanted to get Walker some snaps because he's seen, Hank before, and he wanted to make sure that Walker got an opportunity to play because he had a really good scrimmage the other day, and it's valuable developmental time for him to get a full quarter's worth of snaps against live action. I understand all that. But if I'm Hank Brown, I'm looking at that as, okay, I was listed as the number 2, coming into the year.
Yep.
Snaps are valuable to me too, and yet you chose to play someone else, and probably somebody that's a more natural fit within the overall structure of the offense. So it absolutely was interesting to me, Cole.
Well, the fortunate, most of the time it's probably unfortunate if you're in Hugh Freeze's situation, is no matter what you do, it's going to send a message. You can't make a decision where it's not going to send some kind of message. And it may not be your intention, but that's just the reality of your situation at Auburn, right? And by bypassing Hank, he probably didn't mean it anyway. Like you said, it wasn't a shot at Hank. It wasn't anything personal, but he wanted to see Walker White. He wanted to see Walker White in the game. That's interesting. I'm with you. And I think Walker White took, obviously he came out of scout team and took some reps so he could be ready for that. So it was something they prepared for. We were talking about this before. The thing, he throws a hitch over the guy's head.
Right.
Like, you can't do that. That's not going to work. But like I said, he's a freshman, first action. Where I was like, and I had one eye on it, and I was talking to recruits at the same time, so I was not like laser focused and locked in on it. But when they ran the power read and went downhill and put a shoulder down on a guy, I go, hey, okay, we hadn't seen that in a minute now. We hadn't seen that at quarterback in a minute. Now that is valuable. There's value in that for sure.
I will tell you there's extreme value in that. And as athletically gifted as Robbie Ashford was, and you can say whatever you want about Robbie Ashford, but from an athletic standpoint, there are not many players more gifted than him on a football field, period. Okay?
Yep.
The difference between Robbie and Walker is Walker hits it where the hole is actually being created. Robbie continuously tried to bounce it to the outside. And so you couldn't run quarterback power and a couple of the other quarterback run game or features from the quarterback run game that I think Hugh wanted to feature within the structure of the offense. So seeing the willingness by Walker to do those things, you know what I mean? It shows you that he's paying attention and he's controlling the things that he can control. And again, he's going to get better throwing the ball. I thought his eyes were in the right spot yesterday. That was something that wasn't always the case in A-Day. So he's already had some growth and development there. As the game continues to slow down for him, I think he's still probably a year away. And the coaching staff feels like he's a year away, as is Deuce Knight, if you're able to hold on to him, from probably stepping onto the field and being able to put your team in a successful situation, which is why we talked about that 2025 quarterback not necessarily being on the roster. But that doesn't mean that one of those two guys, if they don't continue to develop or grow, can't be the number two. And if something happens to your number one, look, I mean, you're literally one snap away from being the guy. So it's important that he continues to evolve and to grow as a quarterback in this offense.
I think if you're Ken Austin, if you're Jesse Stone, Hugh Freeze, and you're evaluating what Walker did yesterday, I think you're going, okay, look, decision making first.
Yes.
Let's see that first. Being perfect on your throws definitely comes after that right now. Yeah. I would think, look, as long as he's making the right decisions, we've got something here.
Yes.
We'll get the other stuff fixed. If you can't make decisions, you can't do this, right? And I'm with you. I think his decisions were fine. And they did give him some RPO type stuff just to see. They dialed it back a little bit as it went on because obviously.
Sure.
But they gave him a drive. He airmailed the hitch, needed to hit that. Again, that's something they can fix. It's the right throw. It's the right read. That's what you're looking at. You want that to happen. But I know, just like what I saw, what you saw, the coaches, when they saw him lower his shoulder and hit the hole on that power read or whatever play that was, they went, okay, that's what we like. That's what we're looking for right there. That's an element we haven't had in a minute. And it's no offense to Payton Thorne, because you were saying Robbie Ashford had an issue with making the right reads, with running the right hole.
Yes.
Yeah, that's correct. So what did they start to do last year? All right, Payton, you got to do it because that stuff works. And it's not Peyton's fault, but he's not a huge guy.
No, he's
tough as nails, but he can't, he's not going to get 4 extra yards when he puts his shoulder down. He's just not physically built for that.
No.
Now he'll put his shoulder down. He ran over a guy at Arkansas last year. It happens, but it's not the
it's not it's not his forte, right?
Sure. And that's not what he's built to do either. Like, it's not a coincidence that he wasn't doing that at Michigan State. Like his rushing numbers went up way big when he went to Auburn, right? Walker White is built for it. He's built like Tim Tebow, really. If you've ever stood up next to him, that's the kind of build you're looking at in a quarterback. And then you see him run over a guy. You said Dak Prescott, and that's a good comparison too. We'll see if he ever pans out that way. It's just the build, the way he can run the ball downhill, that kind of stuff is what reminds you of that. So I'm telling you, I really do believe that was a good little showing for him. We'll see how that pans out. I think that was very interesting how that played out, though.
Yeah, and I think it's something that probably gave him some confidence, and confidence goes a long way with quarterbacks, right?
Sure.
That is a huge thing, knowing that, okay, I was able to go in against live game competition. Yes, I had 1 turnover, but it's something I'm going to learn from. I'm going to understand that when I get 3 guys around me as opposed to, trying to go full blow Jarquez Hunter and carry 2 guys on my back to the first down. Maybe I just protect the ball in that situation and go down, right? But
Right.
again, with freshmen, every snap they get better because this is their first time at this level.
Yeah. It's interesting we made it 40 minutes into the show and have not mentioned defense once.
No, we haven't. It's been about the offense, but in that vein, DJ Durkin just continues to put a consistent product on the field. I think I talked about it in my opening statement.
Yeah.
Other than that throw at the very end of the game where you could tell that he was just living on the sideline, because that's, they didn't find that to be acceptable play or acceptable effort. And I think the guy fell down actually, that was in coverage, which was an unfortunate situation. But
I believe it was J.C. Hart.
I think so. I think it was JC that fell down in coverage.
Then
but
missed tackle by Terrence Love, not good there either. But
no. But those are, second and third team guys.
Well, a lot of people on the board, they go, why aren't, where's Terrence Love? Where's J.C. Hart? There you go.
In my opinion, JC Hart's playing out of position, and Terrence Love is. I mean, I think he is who he is at this point, right? And maybe he'll continue to get better, but as of right now, he just hasn't proved himself to be consistent enough to get snaps.
Yeah, but you're right, and that's what I was going to say. I think the reason we haven't mentioned them is because they are so consistent. I mean, this is a top 25 unit in the country.
Yes,
defense. They are. I think they are by the numbers. Even if I weren't going by stats, I would say they are at least top 25. One of the best defensive units in the country. I think Dorian Mosi was the leading tackler. Jaron Thompson had several tackles. DeMarcus Riddick. Everybody's going to talk about Cam Coleman, rightfully so. The closing speed of DeMarcus Riddick. Not only the closing speed, I'm very impressed by his football IQ and his play diagnosis as a linebacker and as a spy and doing the things he's doing right now as a blitzer. Like, he is far beyond what I expected him to be as a freshman. I knew the athletic ability was there. Look, there's a lot of guys that come in with athletic ability that translates that aren't ready yet. This guy's ready. He is a big time player right now. Not in the future, right now he is. I mean, what did you think about DeMarcus Riddick again? Seeing him again, right?
Cole, they're players. Like, if you didn't know anything about football, right? If you're just watching football and you're looking guys that are making dynamic plays, he's one of those kind of guys that just jumps out to you. The speed, the quickness, the physicality with which he plays. There's some guys that just are blessed physically in a way that allows them without even, and you're right about the football IQ. I think that's continued to increase game over game as he continues to get more snaps. You see him start to make plays inside the box, and you're like, okay, he wasn't doing that 3 weeks ago. And now this is something like more, the Oklahoma game, they were just kind of featuring him off the edge somewhat or as a quarterback spy. And now they're asking him to do so much more to where he's legitimately taking Eugene Asante level snaps from him because he's forced his way onto the field because of some of the things that he can do. But just his speed and twitch off the edge, I mean, you just can't simulate it, right? Like, some guys have it and some guys don't. And he is just an elite athlete that is learning to become a linebacker in real time. And I think they're going to have something special in their hands this time next year if he continues to progress. But real quick, to your point, I just looked up, if you're a believer in the total defense to a metric, Auburn is ranked 13th in the country now, ahead of Georgia, who's at number 14.
So I overshot it. I was saying top 25. I should have been saying top 15.
That is where now look, we've got 2 big games against Texas A&M and Alabama, and so maybe some of that will come backwards somewhat.
Oh, but Alan, they played Alabama A&M. You got to throw it out, dude. They played Alabama A&M.
Yep, you're right.
You can't count it. But no, that's really interesting. That line that tracks, right? That tracks.
Yep, that tracks. I like that.
So during the game, I offer what I consider to be not run-of-the-mill updates I think everybody runs live updates. I like to try to change it up. I want you to get sort of a coach's perspective. I am sitting up in the box. I can see the whole field.
Mm-hmm.
Unless it's an away game, then I'm just watching TV like you. But, I try to offer analysis. But when I'm trying to analyze the defense, on Saturday, I kept going, okay, well, I don't really know how I can analyze that. They just closed up the gap. That's what happens over and over and over in the run game. They don't allow any leakage. They just don't. It doesn't matter who's in there. And they had a heavy rotation. Philip Bleedy, Isaiah Rakes, Jason Jones played well.
Yes, he did.
He's played really well in his role all year. Bobby Travis, Malik Blockton.
Yes. And those
All
are
those
big
guys.
pieces for Auburn next year. Malik Blockton and Bobby Travis are the two that you have that are coming back that are in the rotation right now, along with Keldrick Falk. Those are the three that are probably going to be leading your defense next year from those interior positions.
Yeah, Amaris Williams and Kieron Crawford were all also in that rotation and playing a lot.
Yes.
And on the stat sheet. So, I'm like, man, I'm sorry. I'm not offering you much analysis here, but they're just closing it up. I will say, though, the running back for Louisiana-Monroe, he was making the most out of nothing.
Ahmad Hardy, I think is how you say his name. Yep.
Let's see. He had 60 yards and a touchdown on 15 carries. Dude, if you go back and look at the lanes he had, 60 yards against that is tough.
I agree. I mean, he was breaking tackles. He ran hard. I mean, he's a legit player.
Yeah. I mean, it just speaks to – look, he just faced – I mean, I'm giving that guy credit because of how good Auburn's defense is on the front seven.
Yeah.
They are stingy, dude. That's why, I mean, as long as you've got that, you're going to be in the game with the Texas A&M.
Yes.
You're going to be in it, bottom line. Can you win it? That's a different story, but you're going to be there.
Sure.
You probably have a shot in the fourth quarter.
I agree. Because if Auburn can play complementary football and keep your defense from having to go over, because there is a tipping point, right? And you saw it against Missouri when you're on the field for so many snaps. Vanderbilt the same way. Eventually, you're going to break and you're going to give up a touchdown. That's just how this works. But can the offense be effective enough to keep them from being put in vulnerable situations where they have to overextend and play more plays than they should have to? If they can do that, Auburn can stay in that game down to the wire, and maybe they can walk away with a win. Who knows?
Sure. Can't rule it out. Put it that way.
No, cannot.
I know Justin, he put on the board today. He's getting a little fired up. He said, I'm leaning towards possibly picking Auburn over A&M. I would urge him not to.
Yes.
But I understand where he's coming from. I can resonate with that for sure.
Of course.
So, boy, that would be big. We can end it on that note. I'm telling you, the way this season has gone is ugly. It's not good. It's not what you want in year two. It's gone backwards as far as the record goes. Obviously, offensively, some things have gone forward.
Sure.
Defense, you can't complain about defense. A lot of bright spot there, a lot of bright spot in the future if you hold on to that, right? You got a lot going on that's coming back. So, a lot of good things, a lot of bad things. But, hey, you find a win against A&M or Alabama, now you're going into the offseason with some momentum, right?
I agree. That would be big, even if you finish at 5-7. But if you get a ranked win, because both of those opponents are ranked, right?
Yep.
That would be a nice way to cap your season and something that you can sell moving forward to your fan base, to your donor base, to recruits, of basically saying, look at all these one-score games we were in. We had you, and we're there. This is when everything comes together. This is what it can be, And my guess is, from a recruiting standpoint, this is the football show, but from a recruiting standpoint, A&M is going to be a big weekend. And if you're able to cap that off with a victory inside Jordan-Hare, and then all the things are going to happen at Toomer's Corner afterwards and the celebration, that would just be big for this team, for this coaching staff, and for the Auburn fan base. Look, it would give them an opportunity to be able to celebrate and rejoice a victory against a Power 4 opponent. And other than Kentucky, they haven't been able to do that this year, and that game was on the road. So to have that opportunity to do it at home in Auburn, I think would be a massive deal for a lot of people.
It would. And based on the crowd, for Louisiana-Monroe, it was pretty good. I know it was Military Appreciation Day.
Yeah.
So that brought some more people. But listen, it was a good crowd for the circumstances. Obviously not what Auburn's capable of. It's not the best crowd for Auburn's capability. But I do think this next game is going to be a big one as far as atmosphere. And you're right. I think there's going to be a lot of recruits there, a lot of surprises, things like that going on. I will tell you, me and Jeffrey will be all hands on deck. We're
I
already
believe it.
mentally spaced in for that. So I'm sure we'll talk more about that on the call-in show and the recruiting show this week. But we'll end it there, Alan. I think that was a good synopsis of what we saw. You know, we'll see what happens moving forward. There's some excitement. Look, you get a win. You get a win. There's nothing wrong with that, right?
No, nothing wrong with being happy with a win, right? There haven't been enough of them this year, so celebrate the ones that you get, and let's turn our focus to next week and see what Auburn can do against the Texas A&M Aggies.
That's right. We will see. Again, we'll have Collins show Sunday night, usual time. Coming back to that, we'll have all kinds of stuff going on for you. You'll be able to watch the Collins show on replay if you miss it live. And Film Room, Auburn Plus shows. We'll have all that going for you. So stay tuned. We got everything coming up. We're coming up to some deadlines with transfer portal signing day. We got a lot going on. Subscribe to Auburn Live. Stay with us. We'll be with you, man. So for Alan Head, for Zach in the back who stayed in the back, for myself, we will catch you later. See ya.